Namaste to all students. This is my video tutorial on respiration. What is respiration? Respiration is the process by which food is oxidized in the living cells to produce energy in the form of ATP molecules. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, which is also called energy currency of a cell. When the cell or the organism require energy for various life processes, these ATP molecules are broken down in the presence of water to form ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and energy is released. I have already talked with you people about the types of respiration. That respiration is of two types, aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic respiration is the type of respiration that happens in the presence of oxygen, while anaerobic respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. So, what would be the products when glucose is broken down in the presence or absence of oxygen? That we would see through a flow diagram. This is the flow diagram showing you the breakdown of glucose through various pathways. Glucose, which has come to a cell after digestion of carbohydrates in the digestive system. Glucose is a 6 carbon molecule, and in the cytoplasm of cell it is broken down into 3 carbon molecule pyruvic acid, also called pyruvate, along with little energy. Now this pyruvate can have three fates. In the absence of oxygen in yeast, this pyruvate is broken down into ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy. Ethanol is a 2 carbon molecule, it is a type of alcohol. Second fate, in the lack of oxygen in our muscle cells during vigorous exercise, pyruvate is converted into lactic acid, which is a 3 carbon molecule, along with the production of little energy. Due to the deposition of lactic acid in our muscles, we feel muscle cramps and muscles fatigue. Third fate of pyruvate is in mitochondria in the presence of oxygen, where it is broken down into carbon dioxide, water, and large amount of energy. This is called complete breakdown of glucose. Carbon dioxide are the end products, and large amount of energy is produced during this process. This is called aerobic respiration. Now we will talk about respiration in human beings. In human beings, there is a respiratory system which is responsible for respiration. The main organs of human respiratory system are nostrils, the holes of your nose, comma, the nasal cavity, comma, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, lungs, and diaphragm, which you can see in this diagram. What are the functions of these parts? Nose warms moisture, filters the inhaled air. Pharynx is a common chamber for food and air, and it leads to trachea. Larynx, also called voice box, contains vocal cords which vibrate when air passes through it and produce sound. Trachea, which is also called windpipe, is a tube-like structure that keep airway open. It is lined with cilia to filter air. Trachea gets bifurcated into two parts which are called bronchi. One bronchi enters into each lung. Inside the lungs, bronchi divides into many branches called bronchioles. And at the end of each bronchioles, there are sac-like structures which are filled with air. These sac-like structures are called alveoli. Each alveoli has a large surface area which is richly supplied by blood capillaries, and this is the actual site where gases exchange occurs in the lungs. The lungs are spongy structures which are resting on the diaphragm. Diaphragm is a muscle at the base of rib cage that helps to fill the lungs with air. Air enters through the nostrils. The hairs and mucus traps the dust particles. It then passes through the pharynx larynx, trachea, bronchi, and enters the lungs. The trachea has rings of cartilage which are C shaped, which prevents trachea from collapsing when there is no air in it. The bronchi divides into smaller tubes called bronchioles, which ends in tiny air sacs called alveoli. The alveoli is supplied with blood vessels through which exchange of gases takes place. The alveoli helps to increase the surface area for maximum exchange of gases in lungs. So this is how our lungs designed to facilitate maximum gases exchange. Now we will discuss mechanism of breathing. Breathing is the process of taking in of fresh air which is rich in oxygen and expelling out foul air which is rich in carbon dioxide. When we breathe in air, the muscles of the diaphragm contracts and moves downward and the chest cavity expands. The air from outside enters into the lungs through the respiratory tract. This is called inhalation or inspiration. When we breathe out, the muscles of the diaphragm relaxes and moves upward. The chest cavity contracts and air goes out of the lungs. This is called expiration or exhalation. Both inhalation and expiration constitute our breathing process. Here in the diagram you can see how air enters into the lungs and expelled out. How diaphragm work, that you can see in this diagram. Alveoli are the sites of gases exchange in lungs, that you can see in this diagram. The rate of breathing in aquatic animals is different from those of terrestrial ones. This is because the amount of dissolved oxygen in water is fairly low as compared to the amount of oxygen in air. Therefore, aquatic organisms like fishes has much faster rate of breathing than the terrestrial organisms. What is the mechanism of breathing in fish? Respiration in fish takes place with the help of gills. Most fish possess gills on either side of their head. Gills are tissues made up of feathery structures called gill filaments that provide a large surface area for gases exchange. Fish take in oxygen rich water through their mouths and pump it over their gills, where the dissolved oxygen in water get diffused into the capillaries present in the gills, and thus the gases exchange takes place in fishes.